A long time ago, I had a lot of stress, but at the time, I didn't realize I had a lot of stress. All I knew was that I had these problems with my health. I couldn't sleep very well. I couldn't digest my food very well. And I thought it was a digestion problem. I thought it was a stomach problem. So I went to the doctor thinking they could fix my stomach problem. But then the first thing the doctor did was check my blood pressure and said, "Oh my God, your blood pressure is so high." And that's all they wanted to talk about. And they completely ignored my other problems, which made my stress go up even more. And so they gave me some medication, and I went to see a chiropractor just on the off chance that he might be able to help in the way the doctor couldn't help. Because at the time, I still didn't realize that the underlying issue was stress. And so I just started talking to the chiropractor. And I started talking about why I might be having the problems. And he asked me a couple of questions that led me to talk about all the stress that I had that I didn't realize that I had. And just talking about these problems, just getting these issues out in the open, suddenly relieved and eliminated all my problems. And this is how stress works. This is how problems work. And after that, my blood pressure went back to normal. Everything was normal. My digestion was normal. My sleep was normal. All because I talked about my problems, because I talked to somebody about my problems. And this is what happens. When we keep problems up in our head and we don't acknowledge them, or we try to ignore them and hope they'll go away, they just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they cause all kinds of other issues. But just talking about your problems, just getting your problems outside of your head and looking at them from a metaphorical, different perspective, you can get a lot of extra brain energy, a lot of relief-driven brain energy to solve these problems and help you get on with your life. This is why talk therapy is so successful, especially in a group therapy setting. They don't necessarily give you solutions to your problems, but just being in a situation where you can share your problems with others can help. Simply by getting them off your chest makes you feel a lot better. This is why sales objections seem so terrifyingly difficult to overcome, because salespeople hate objections. Salespeople are terrified of objections. Salespeople will do anything they can to pretend the objections don't exist. But here's the thing. All humans are desire-seeking organisms. All humans, all people have an unlimited number of desires in our head, far too many to accomplish in any one lifetime. But every single desire that we have has an associated inhibition with that desire. Every time we want something, we want to go after something, we think about going after something, there's something else that's keeping us from doing that. We are never fully congruent. So no matter what you want, no matter what your customers want, they will always have some kind of internal inhibitions. And if you're a salesperson and you want to make a lot of money in sales, one thing they teach salespeople is to wait till the end of the pitch, to overcome objections. But think about it this way. Before you even start the conversation with the customer, before you even start the sales conversation with the customer, they have a desire. Otherwise, they wouldn't be talking to you. And they have an associated objection with that desire. And the longer you talk about the product, the longer you pitch the service, the longer you have the conversation while ignoring those objections, they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger in their head, which puts the customer in a very uncomfortable position. They're starting to feel this bigger and bigger stress, just like I was feeling with my problems that caused all kinds of health problems. And in the customer's mind, these objections are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you're forcing them into an uncomfortable position of having to say out loud in a confrontational way what their objections are. That puts a lot of stress on the customer. That is the least likely way to sell something to somebody. That is the least likely way to persuade somebody of something, is to ignore the objections and just hope they don't come up. A much better way is to bring them up in the very early part of the conversation. Before you talk to them, or before you start the conversation, say something like this. Hey, thank you for talking to me. Thank you for picking up the phone. Thank you for opening the door. Thank you for letting me into your house. Thank you for taking the time to come into our shop. Before we even get started talking about what it is you want, let me ask you this question. If you did decide that the product or service that we have is a perfect match to solve your problems, if you did decide that the product or service that we have is a perfect solution to your desires, and you did decide that the price was fair, would there be anything that would keep you from moving forward? That puts it in a hypothetical space, so there's no pressure, and it also, you're proactively eliciting whatever objections they may have. You're acknowledging that they have objections. That will put them in a very, very good mood. That will help them to get their objections out of their head in a non-confrontational way. And once you get the objections out of their head in a non-confrontational way, two things will happen. One is these will be legitimate objections, not fake objections, legitimate objections. And two, as you have the conversation, you can build these objections into the conversation, which will give you the highest priority or the highest probability of overcoming them. So this is kind of counterintuitive, but it's a lot more effective way to make a lot of sales. It's a lot more effective way to make the customer feel confident saying everything they need, both the good things and the bad things, and you can use both of these things to have a successful sales conversation. So pace the objections as early in the conversation as you can, and this will help you make a lot more sales. If you'd like to learn more, check out the links below. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you next time.